song. Hickenlooper, see you in November. And folks, if you get a chance to look up that video on YouTube, or Liz Harrison posted it over on BuzzFo along with her article on this topic, you'll catch the video. And it's got Alfonso Rachel of Zonation from PJ Media on there playing the drums. So there's Zoe, showing his skills as a musician, which of course is his primary job. And he's a dang good drummer. Not too keen on the vocals on that song. Just want to say that they could have found a better vocalist, but it's a good song nonetheless. And speaking, of course, of gun grabbing and left-wing lunatics, let's look at one of the huge hubs of left-wing lunacy, of the oligarchy failing in the citizens. That no, we're not talking about California here, folks. We are talking about Chicago, the city that is destroying an entire state because of their lunacy. Well, of course, the Supreme Court told Illinois and Chicago that their anti-gun laws had to go. So they started finally issuing concealed handgun licenses. Well, within Cook County, which is the county that houses Chicago, they've had some problems with issuing the concealed handgun licenses. And in one district within Chicago, they've actually gone back and looked at the stats. They've had quite a few violent crimes there. 98% of this district of Chicago. I want to say it's, I almost said Gandalf, folks, but it's not Gandalf. Was it Griffin Park? I actually need to re-look exactly which area it is. It's west. A couple of different places it could be. And that's why I'm sitting here racking my brain trying to remember, because I read it and I was like, hey, I've been there before. But let me see if I can get the exact spot. But it's there within Chicago. Garfield Park. Yep, West Garfield Park. The demographic is 98% black. Yet for some reason, the residents are having a very hard time getting their concealed handgun licenses. In fact, it is appearing that the way they have it set up is you pretty much have to be white in order to get one. Now, of course, this is Democrats. This is left-wing oligarchs that run the bureaucracy in Chicago and in the state of Illinois, and actually run the government of Chicago and the government of the state of Illinois, who are doing this. So this isn't a right-wing thing. This is very much left-wingers doing it to, who they've duped into being fellow left-wingers. So think about that, folks. This is Democrats telling other Democrats that they're not allowed to have a permit for a concealed handgun license to defend themselves. Has this ever happened before, where the Democrats have tried to deny citizens their Second Amendment rights? Why, yes. It happened after the Civil War and happened all the way through the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. In fact, it was the Democratic Party trying to keep the freed former indentured servants, the freed slaves, be they black, Irish, Chinese, Italian, whatever, but tried to keep them from being able to exercise the Second Amendment rights that were now guaranteed to them as freed citizens. Well, the Democrats didn't like that because they didn't want them being able to defend themselves. Well, the NRA was founded to protect their gun rights. The gun rights primarily, the largest demographic of those people, were black. Yet somehow the NRA is racist, folks, even though it's the anti-NRA Democrats who are denying these handgun licenses. Somebody needs to figure that out for me, because it sounds a lot like they're speaking out one side of their mouth and contradicting themselves and doing the exact opposite with the other side of their mouth, their other face. So, yeah, they're lying to your face while stabbing you in the back. And that's what that party does. Of course, there's a little bit on both sides of the aisle, folks. That's why we conservatives, true conservatives, don't claim to be a part of any party. Anyway, speaking of things going on, hey, isn't it about time we heard from good old Eleanor Nortoner reminding us of our place within our government system?
You don't have a right to know everything in a separation of powers government, my friend. That is the difference between a parliamentary government and a separation of powers government.
The difference between me and you, Eleanor, is I actually passed my 8th grade civics test. I think I got 100 on it, folks. But, no, I think I got a 99. I think I misspelled one word when I had to write out the preamble to the U.S. Constitution by hand in memory, because that was actually the test back when I was in 8th grade. Anyway, that's the difference between you and I, is I actually passed those classes, and I have actually read the Constitution, Eleanor, as well as the Federalist Papers, and you're very much sounding like you haven't. Anyway, that, of course, means, folks, it's time during this last little bit of the show. And, of course, you are welcome to call in and join the conversation, 520-226-8567. We're going to be talking about some things going on within our federal government. And, in fact, we're going to look right now at the executive branch. And, of course, the Secret Service falls under the executive branch. Folks, do you realize that the Running Man incident last Friday, I think it was Friday, that was the 16th breach of security during the Obama administration. Now, we're not saying that there haven't been previous breaches. There have been a bunch of them. I mean, come on. Somebody landed an airplane on the White House lawn during a previous administration. So there have been several previous security breaches. But this is the 16th in 6 years under the Obama administration. That's a lot. In fact, there was one previous case where somebody reported gunshots fired at the White House, and Obama's daughter was home, and evidently somebody was gunning for her, literally, and missed, of course. But there were a total of 7 rounds reported fired, and the Secret Service said, no, you're imagining things. Nothing happened. Go about your business. No such thing. There haven't been any. Well, the next morning, when cleaning one of the rooms, a maid found broken glass all over the place. The window had been shot out, and there were bullet holes in the wall on the inside of that room. So it turned out that, yes, somebody actually had been shooting at the White House. I'm not a big fan of Obama, obviously. I think his policies are some of the worst policies enacted since FDR and Woodrow Wilson, who I think were 2 of the worst presidents we've had in history, right along with, of course, Jimmy Carter. So that's 4 in the last 100 years that were terrible, which really is not a bad percentage when you look at it. But despite the fact I don't like his policies, I don't agree with them, and his voice irritates me, and some days I'd really like him to agree to meet me on the mat for a friendly little MMA competition. Of course, if he says no, that's the end of that discussion, because I'm not somebody who's going to go out and go after somebody and physically assault them. I just find that very rude. I do not, folks, I do not advocate any violence towards any elected official, or even appointed for that matter. It's just wrong, folks. We have a system in place where when somebody's doing a really terrible job, we can fire them. It's called an election. And if it's in between elections and they're really bad, it's called leveraging the legislature to impeach. There's no need for violence. There's no need to go running across the lawn with a knife tucked in your boot on your bad ankle when you should not have been able to outrun the Secret Service because you're a disabled vet. Anyway, there's no need to go taking pot shots at the White House, especially at somebody's kids. Say whatever you want about Obama. He's a father. He has kids. End of discussion. You do not go after somebody's kids. You shouldn't go after the person violently anyway. The best way to go after Obama is in the news and at the ballot box. And hit him with the truth through the news and through the news media, and then hit him in the ballot box and send him packing. And that's the only way. That's the best way. In fact, with those idiots who may have taken those pot shots at him, what they don't realize is if they don't like Obama, that if they had been successful and harmed him or killed him, all they would have done was made his administration stronger. And I wish it were stronger. I actually do. I wish he had a backbone instead of a couple of flapping lips. But he doesn't have a backbone. Doesn't matter. The people chose him in an election, and that's the way he needs to be deposed of, is in an election. That's it. And by the way, he can't run for re-election anyway, so he's done in another 2 years and a couple months. So we've made it this far, folks. You can hunker down and make it another couple of years as he chips away, just making more work for the next president to get things that he has to fix, which is just going to make the next administration look better when they fix all the crap that Obama broke. Well, speaking about Obama and security here, well, the latest little insider info that's gotten out, somebody else wrote this up for BuzzPo, not I, although I knew quite a bit about this through my own direct experience. But Obama, he turned around and tried to blame the U.S. intelligence community for his lack of knowledge on ISIS and for the bad assessment of ISIS. It's now come out that, like I said a couple of days ago, that the intelligence community has been telling Obama this whole time what the threat was, what the dangers were, that pulling out of Iraq was a bad idea because of ISI. If we pulled out, they were just going to reform. He's been informed numerous times, or they've tried to inform him numerous times, but he keeps blowing off his intelligence briefs, or when he has them, he sits there and tries to tell the intelligence people what's going on based on absolutely zero reporting, zero evidence, instead of listening to the analysis of the evidence that's actually out there, listening to the facts. So over the past 6 years, they've been trying to brief him and tell him the truth, and he ignored it or wagged his finger and said, "You don't tell me what the ground truth is, I tell you what the ground truth is." And because of his skillful and willful negligence at avoiding the truth or ignoring the truth, now he's sitting there trying to blame the intel community. And in the meantime, he's been listening to his various jihadist buddies who he keeps having for dinner. "Oh, no, we never attacked the U.S. No. Pay no attention to that plane that's flying into the Sears Tower. That's not us. Oh, it's not flying yet? Oh, that's tomorrow, sorry." Yeah. So he's listening to them and their lies, their the takfiri and their I forget the taqiyya that they employ. Takfiri means apostate or heretic, bad person, evil person, and the taqiyya is their religious what's the word I'm looking for? Responsibility to protect the faith by lying to those not of the faith. So you have these takfiri extremists, these terrorists who've been lying to Obama because it's their way of protecting their faith as they commit jihad, and he actually believed them. And then he believed idiots like good old JJ, Valerie Jarrett. Valerie Jarrett, who sat there and told him not to go after bin Laden, not to go after bin Laden. And the only smart decision Obama has made in the past 6 years was to one time tell Valerie to shut up and tell the Pentagon, do what you have to do, let me sit in the back while you guys make the real big boy decisions. It wasn't a gutsy move. The only gutsy move was telling Valerie to shut up for a day. His only gutsy part about that decision, because the rest of the decision wasn't his. It really wasn't. He didn't make it. But, yeah. And we got going over to BuzzPro, and the article over there was Obama tries to throw U.S. intelligence under the bus. And the U.S. intelligence community refuses to go. It's because we've had enough of his lies. And yes, as a retired member of that community, I still consider myself part of the community, although I no longer get to see the other side of the looking glass. It's okay. It's liberating. But going more into the ridiculousness coming out of the first couple, Michelle Obama was at a fundraiser for another Democrat. I forget exactly where it was. I have to look it up, folks. Or you can look it up. Also at BuzzPro, it's Michelle Obama doesn't like reporters to talk to people, because at this fundraiser, the Michelle Obama staffers, along with this other political candidate staffers, basically told press, you will stay in this little area and you will talk to nobody. You just sit here and take pictures and take notes on our speeches, but you're not allowed to talk to the other guests. So basically they were denied the full freedom of the press with that. And to top it off, as the reporters were there, one of the reporters noticed that they didn't have enough chairs for the paying attendees to this fundraiser or speech or whatever it was. And there was even an old lady who had a walker or crutches and had no place to sit, and they wouldn't get her a chair. One of the reporters, I think it was, eventually gave up a chair, and they got scolded for giving up a chair to an old lady with a walker so that she could sit. This is the character of the First Lady and her cronies and her friends. This is the character of our current president. This is the character of those who sit and worship at the oligarchy, thinking they're giving us so much. Well, it's not theirs to give. It's yours in the first place. They took it away from you and gave you crumbs back from what was your loaf of bread. So consider that, folks. You let them take everything away, hoping they would give a little bit back. And they're just throwing the little crumbs back to the little people. They can interpret the laws in the Constitution at a whim and do what they feel. That is what they honestly feel, folks. And we've been putting up with this for the past 6 years as the, by and large, portion of the executive branch, which, of course, Obama said, or Valerie Jarrett said on Obama's behalf, they're ready to rule us, not to lead us, not to execute laws, but to rule over us like we are somehow all those second-hand citizens, with that separation of powers, with those elected officials somehow being separate and above we the people, of the people, by the people, for the people. Well, you need to go back and reread the preamble. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. That's we the people. We the people wrote the Constitution. We the people tell Obama what his left and right limits are. And he's been jumping over them. Well, folks, that takes us to the end of this Humpty Hump Day. So go out and turn your music back on, turn my loud mouth off, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning, where hopefully you'll call in 520-226-8567. I've been your host, Paul-Gregory Matuszak, for this show, Martha Matuszak Show, on October 1st, 2014. We will see you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye. Hey, take us out, Dave. Dave? There we go.